Hi, and welcome to Optimum TV. I'm Stephen Adams, and today I'm joined by Krishna Polu, who's CEO of R1 Therapeutics, who's just launched with $78 million Series A fundraise. So congratulations and welcome, Krishna.
Thanks, Stephen. I appreciate the opportunity to be on Optimum TV.
Great to have you. So for those who don't know R1, because you have just launched, tell us a little bit about the company and what you're doing.
Yeah, so R1 is a clinical stage biotech company. We are founded with the vision of building a leading kidney therapeutics company. We are starting the company by licensing of a really exciting clinical stage asset called AP306, which is a pan-phosphate transport inhibitor that inhibits one phosphate transport in the gut and is going to be developed for the treatment of hyperphosphatemia in patients with chronic kidney disease.
Okay, great. So your lead asset, AP306, you've mentioned the indication. Tell me how it works and how it differs from standard of care.
Yeah, so maybe some background on the standard of care is probably a good place to start. So hyperphosphatemia is a very common and prevalent problem in patients with kidney failure. The kidneys are the main regulator of blood phosphorus levels. And so by the time patients arrive at dialysis, almost all the patients need treatment for this problem. The way we've managed this problem for over 60 years is we administer phosphate binders to patients, and phosphate binders work by doing what they sound like they do. They bind phosphorus in the GI tract, and they prevent the passive transport of phosphorus into the body. We've been using variations of the same theme now for a long time. Originally, we started with aluminum-based binders and then eventually recognized the toxicity associated with that. That was then followed by calcium, which also has its own set of safety issues in terms of the calcium load and the risk for vascular calcification. And then we've moved to other types of binders, polymer-based binders, iron-based binders, but all of them essentially do the same thing. And despite the fact that we have 5-6 plus phosphate binders approved, for example, in the US, we really haven't made a big difference in improving how we manage this problem now for more than a decade. More than 70% of patients in the US can't achieve normal phosphorus levels. And then more than 40% of patients can achieve slightly liberal targets, clinical practice targets. And so there's a really huge unmet need for managing this problem in patients. AP306 differs from the current standard of care by inhibiting the active transport of phosphorus. So this is a very novel, different mechanism of action than anything that's approved or currently being developed in the marketplace. And because of that, we think it has the opportunity to be the best in class in terms of all phosphorus-lowering therapies. And in fact, initial clinical trial data would support the potential of this drug being a superior treatment option for patients when compared to phosphorus binders, and also at a lower pill burden, which is one of the major challenges with existing phosphate binders today.
Okay, all right. So you've got lots of potential advantages over standard of care. This asset, AP306, I understand comes from previous work by a company called Alabund.
Yeah, the history and the origin of the molecule is actually the molecule was originally discovered and developed by Chugai Pharmaceuticals, a large pharmaceutical company in Japan, and they took the molecule all the way through phase 1B, and then for strategic reasons decided to halt development. In 2021, they licensed the molecule to Alabund, which is a Chinese-based biotech company that's focused on developing kidney therapeutics. And they have actually a pipeline of drugs that they're developing and one marketed product. And so once they licensed the rights to the molecule, they did a very important study, a phase 2 study in China that demonstrated really the efficacy and safety and the potential of the molecule to potentially change the standard of care. We then did a licensing deal with Alabund to license commercialization development rights to all territories outside of Greater China. And we're working with them in the next step, which is to do a global phase 2B study to further examine the efficacy and safety of the molecule in this indication.
Okay, great. Well, let's talk about that clinical program going forward. What's going to involve and what's the timeline for it?
Yeah, so again, this is a multi-center global randomized controlled trial, placebo-controlled trial. It will be conducted at sites in the US and sites in China. and we anticipate starting this trial in the first half of this year and having data in the first half of next year. This is a trial in patients on dialysis who are hyperphosphatemic, and we will randomize them to various doses and dose regimens compared to placebo, with the goal and objective of demonstrating the treatment effect and the efficacy of the drug, and to get a better sense for dosing to guide our thinking about the dose regime in phase 3. So it's a pretty quick turnaround in terms of the time from when we start to when we'll have data, roughly probably about 12 months from where we are today. And so really exciting kind of period of time, because things will go relatively quickly, and before you know it, we'll have data and probably be looking to work towards phase 3 and raising more money in the next round.
Okay, great. Exciting times ahead. And thinking a little bit more broadly, what is R1's overall strategy? You're clearly a kidney therapeutics company. How do you intend to stand out and differentiate yourself in this space? Whereas obviously there's lots of actors.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, it's great to be launching the company during National Kidney Month, highlighting the importance of kidney disease. Just to give you a scope of the problem, globally, there's about 850 million people worldwide with kidney disease, about 35 million in the US, 4 million worldwide with kidney failure, requiring dialysis, for example, and about 500,000 patients in the US on dialysis. So this is a huge problem. So as we think about building a company in this space, we see opportunities in so many segments of the disease. So those are patients with kidney disease who are not yet on dialysis, but might have cystic diseases, metabolic diseases, genetic diseases, glomerular autoimmune diseases that are causing kidney failure. We see opportunities in the kidney transplant space where we really have not substantially changed the way we manage these patients in 20 or 30 years. And of course, in dialysis, this is an area where there's a huge unmet need, a very high mortality rate in this population. So in every segment of kidney disease, there is a need, and the need is huge. And so, you know, our view on the space is, let's go after and develop innovative therapies that will change the field. And we're starting with a therapy in the dialysis space that we believe will do so. So I think the long-term vision is to build a leading kidney therapeutics company. Obviously, right now, we need to focus on advancing AP306 for the treatment of hyperphosphatemia. But it's an exciting time. There's a lot of momentum in the space, assisted by sort of regulatory changes that have enabled accelerated approval pathways in different indications, lots of investment by venture capital and private equity firms, and of course, interest by pharma and M&A activity. So I think the timing's right for building a kidney company, and excited to be doing it and launching the company during National Kidney Month, as I mentioned. So.
Super. Well, Krishna Polu of R1 Therapeutics. It sounds like we're going to have more news pretty soon. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Stephen. Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.